Bryndis. I'm an energy healer, coach, and trainer for personal, business, and relationship questions. And today, I want to talk to you guys about spiritual maturity, spiritual truth, and what this even means. What does it even mean to be spiritual? Psychology calls the tuning into the spiritual connection mindfulness, and churches call this process religion, and some of the movements here in mainstream call this connection with the deeper questions of life New Age. So now we are at a point in our life here, all of us, we all are in this time where I think it's really important that we investigate this a little more. So I want to ask you guys a bunch of questions, or better say, I want to raise questions. I'm not really asking you to, answer them, but I want to raise some questions that are typically considered to be spiritual in nature. Those are questions that allow you to tune in deeper, and also in relationship or in communication with others, to maybe kickstart something of a more spiritual discussion or, interaction. Number one, why is there poverty? Why is there suffering? Why are there tragedies and catastrophes like we are observing right now here in the United States and Ohio, through the poisoning of the environment, the river that provides water for more than 5 million people, the earthquake in Turkey? Why does this exist? Why do we have to go through this? Number two, what is the relationship between science and religion? Number three, why are there so many people on this planet today that are depressed or anxious? Number four, what are we all afraid of? What are we afraid of? Number five, can war lead to peace? Number six, how would higher power, God, divine, this higher intelligence, want us to respond to what we are witnessing today in our world? What is the right way to deal with this, seen from a spiritual perspective? Number seven, how does one obtain true inner peace? True inner peace, not just peace of mind, but a peace within yourself, within your own truth. Number eight, what does it mean? What does it truly mean to live in the present moment? To be present. Number nine, what makes it so hard to be in the present moment? What distracts us? What is our biggest distraction? Number 10, are religions serving their purpose? Is New Age serving its purpose? Is mindfulness serving its purpose? Or is there something else? Maybe something missing. Number 11. Big question. What happens if you die? What happens if we die? Where do we go? And there's a secondary question. Yeah, if we ask where we're going, yeah, the part in us that makes us, well, then we also kind of have to ask, well, where are we from? Okay, you've heard me talk about this many times. The moment we recognize that we are a soul with a body, that we are, a consciousness that is having a physical experience, well, that makes us a spirit being, that makes us a being that does not just exist in the physical, which means we have to have come from somewhere and we have to go somewhere once this physical segment of our being ends or transforms. Number 12. What does it mean to heal? What does it mean to be healed? And how can one obtain healing? And what needs to be healed? Number 13. What is the meaning of this life then? What is the purpose of this this physical experience? And is there a spiritual purpose to this physical experience? What is higher power, number 14? What is it? Is it some old guy or a bunch of old guys sitting in clouds somewhere and watching over us and judging us? Or is it an energy form? Is it, an alien maybe? What is higher power? Number 16. No, number 15. What makes us human? What is the greatest power in being human? Or of being human? What could possibly be the purpose of being human, right? This question is connected to that. Number 16, what prevents us from living our higher potential? Like this, whatever we come up with is, and what is our greatest power? What is our highest potential? Can we even imagine it? And what is holding us back? What prevents us from living it? Number 17. Where does the world go? What is going on with the world? Is the world going to end? Is this the apocalypse with all its, pre-signs and, indicators that the world or humans are going to be extinct at some point? Number 18. What do I want for this world? What do I feel the world needs the most? Maybe to heal. Maybe to not get extinct. Or to simply just improve. So that people are less afraid, less distraught, less depressed. So that they can enjoy this life, this journey more, and express their own powers more. In fact, number 19, what is the wisdom that we can learn here in this lifetime? Or maybe if you believe in reincarnation, in this continual journey of improvement, of evolution. And number 20, are we alone in this universe? Or are we, as individual identities, alone in this? Is the world maybe just my own virtual reality? Or are we as humans alone here in the universe? All questions that are being discussed in mainstream right now, yay. I mean, not yay as in regards to the quality of those discussions, but the fact that this question is even raised and openly discussed, yay, because it always means that there is more truth when things that go through our mind, when things that thoughts that we have, questions that we have, when they get expressed and discussed in the media. It means that there is a consciousness rising. If you've ever asked yourself any of these questions, anybody? Give me some hearts. Yeah, give me the number of hearts that you have found, the number of questions that you've asked yourself. So don't get a cramp in your finger, because probably most of you had a lot of these questions in their life at some point. If you have these questions, that means you are actually contemplating something spiritual. Those are spiritual questions. And where do you think you can find the answers for those kind of questions? Where would you look for answers? Where would you go? That's a true question for all of you. Where do we go? Linda is commenting here in the chat, inner whispers. Okay, so can you elaborate on that? Are you referring to something like hunches or intuition, any guidance?
It's really when I get into one of your good meditations, and you bring me into my heart, and you flush out all of the racing thoughts and emotions, and just allow me to sit in my heart. And I really, I can hear guidance there. That's what I call my whispers.
Thank you for sharing. All right, so first I need to, practice my own humility and say, it's not me who's doing this, Linda. Obviously, I'm providing tools that help people to go into this space where, and this is, I think, what you mean to say, where they can connect with themselves, where they can spiritually connect with themselves, perhaps even with something that we would call spirit, depending on, what kind of contextualization we have in regards to like higher power. Yeah. When we connect deeper. You mentioned something about that's when the mind stops racing. So really, some of the questions that I've asked here, that I've raised here, okay, in your case, I guess they could be answered with, if we would just be able to escape those racing thoughts. Yeah, so there's something going on that is obviously preventing you from being there at all times. That's what I'm hearing from you sharing. Okay. Any other suggestions? Where do we look for answers? Where do we go? Do we consult a medical doctor? Do we consult a politician? Do we consult our neighbor? Do we consult a tree? Yeah, Aneta is also agreeing inside of us. Okay, how is that working for you? How's that working for you? 20 questions. How many answers have you found?
I would say I'm still contemplating on finding the answers. It's the process. It's not that easy. It's not a white and black.
Okay.
But the moment I start thinking about it, I think that I will go with my intuition. And I think that, and again, it's my own perception, that might be an answer, but everybody might find a different answer or a little bit different angle of the answer.
Yeah, thank you, Aneta, for sharing. You just brought in something important, a word, perception. So obviously when we use the word perception, we are implying that it is different for everybody, right? Because perception is something that is subjective. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if, everybody, let's say 100% of people we ask perceive the same thing, then maybe it forms a little more of something that we would call like a collective assumption or truth. Okay, yes, but there is something about our perception, and that is if we just do this with ourselves, yeah, just with ourselves, and especially as Linda pointed out, in our own mind, how far can we go with that? How far can our mind help us or lead us into answering some of these bigger questions? Is it even possible to find answers for those questions from within our own personal perception and its limitations, including our mind?
Maybe it's not true, but my experience and my feeling about it is when I get that deep into my heart, I get a connection with a higher energy, sort of a love energy, I think, and I believe that that's where the wisdoms come from.
Okay. That's why we all meditate, right? That's why every single study that has ever been done on meditation and breathing techniques and a present moment awareness shows that it's beneficial. But what about those answers? Are you finding answers there? Or does it just bring you relief from, as you described it earlier, the racing mind? Annette is sharing something here that I like. You say we, through discussions and sharing with others. Well, how do you feel about that?
For me, it's important to discuss and share with others, or I'll get stuck in my own head, I think.
That's a really good point you're making there, Annette. Thank you for bringing this up, because there's a limitation with our own mind, right? I mean, we can only think as far as we can think, and we can only know, what we can imagine to know. Yeah, there are some things that we simply cannot know, and therefore, we either need to go look somewhere else. We can, read books. We can read, other people's accounts, other people's witnesses, or we can share with them directly. Sorry for the airplane flying really low. Yeah, so we can share, we can explore, we can exchange with others. How does that help? Does it mean that we have to agree with everything the others see, say, perceive?
I think it just gives us food for thought and, help provides me a new perspective that maybe I'm not seeing.
Okay, I really like food for thought. I really like that expression, Linda. Thank you for bringing this into the energy talk here. Food for thought. And food for thought is we use this term just without thinking, but really what we're saying is that it brings in some kind of nurturing. It brings in some kind of nourishment. It adds something to the thinking process. And that's exactly true. So let's go a little deeper here and do something that I regularly do with students here that do this consciousness training with me in the Sacred Self-Healing program. All right, let's go a little further here. What is food for thought? Linda just said food for thought is something that makes you think, that makes you exercise this muscle of thinking. Yeah, maybe it brings in a new aspect, a new perspective, a new view on things, a new context perhaps that allows you to see things from a different perspective and maybe therefore also, change your perception. So in general, I think it's clear that we agree that sharing and exchanging thoughts, this is really what we can observe here for our entire humanity, is something that does something to us. It's beneficial. It leads to evolution. I mean, this is basically how we have been evolving here as humans, throughout the millennia, is through sharing, through interacting, through writing things down, through teaching, through learning, and so forth. This is how we learn from another. We're basically designed to do this. Are we just designed to do this in regards to our cognitive processes, our thoughts, our thinking? No. But this is something that is quite important right now. Why? Because we have a lot of different perspectives, these perspectives that are out here in our societies, in form of political opinions, in form of, even things that we see in the sky or things that we see in the water, okay, where there's obviously different perceptions of what that means. Or our own personal experiences. So if we don't exchange that, if we don't discuss that, if we don't allow ourselves to at least listen, to at least be willing, to augment, to increase our own ways of seeing the world, our own ways of thinking, then we may end up with pretty rigid beliefs and mindsets. But does this only apply to our thinking? I mean, it's clearly a problem in our society today. So we're all doing our best, I guess, to learn how to more freely think and to discern what we're thinking and the thoughts that we're putting out there. But let's stick with this food aspect. Is there anything that we can say about all these other aspects of us humans? After all, at least from what we can differentiate, we operate on the physical, we operate on the emotional, social, we operate on the mental, the cognitive, we operate on the spiritual, and spiritual social as well. And for someone like me who's trained in energy work and energy healing, obviously we also interact on an energetic level. There are some other levels on which we also interact that are primarily not, or that are not aware to most people, which is on the astral and the etheric level. But this is something that can be learned. At least the etheric perspective, the etheric perception, that can be trained. All right, but let's not talk about this right now. Let's just go back to like the food aspect of things, what we put in, how we nourish ourselves. I don't want to talk about physical, dietary nourishment. All I want to say is that simply because I have done so many talks about this, you can skim through my YouTube channel. All I want to say is that there are foods that are good for you and foods that are not good for you, and your job is to discern that. What puts your body into the best position, what creates the best conditions for your body to, operate on your highest level. And this also has to do, obviously, with your activities, the things you do, exercise and choices that we make. But that's all on the physical. Emotionally, what is emotional food, guys? What feeds your emotions And is all that you allow to feed your emotions positive emotions? Or are we feeding ourselves with a lot of negative emotions unconsciously? Seems like a simple question, but not really that simple. Who has any thoughts about the kind of emotions that we're feeding ourselves with day in, day out, and our awareness about them? Are you aware of the emotions that you feed yourself every day? The quality of
If I
it?
don't stay alert, the what's going on around me, and in the newspaper and on the news, I feel like it feeds me with negative emotions, and so you have to sort of stay alert to.
It's very hard to hear you, Linda. Can you go a little
Oh,
closer
sorry.
to the microphone?
Is that better?
Yes.
I just find that the things around me often will feed me with negative emotion, and I just feel like I need to stay alert to discern what I choose to think about that and what I'm being fed with, and try and just sort of repel.
That's a lot of thinking about emotions. How about your actions? Okay, so you say the news. I'm assuming you're referring to the news, to like just the daily sort of exposure that we have emotionally. Yeah. How much of that do you allow per day?
Yeah, probably too much, and so then
Okay.
then I'm in the process of having to repel it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's pretty simple, right? If we know that a food is poisonous and we eat it, okay, we know it's poisonous and we can feel that it's poisonous and we keep eating it. Okay. What needs to be changed?
Turn off the TV.
That's
Cancel
one
the
way.
newspaper.
Yeah, it's one way. I mean, it's not just the TV for people nowadays. It's actually more the social media than the TV. And for some people, it continues in the head. So it's also the mind TV. Yeah. But we're talking about emotions here still. We haven't even started talking about thoughts yet. Okay, so you made the distinction between, like how you can feel negative emotions, and you just realized that you're probably feeding yourself with too many negative emotions. I would agree with that. And the only thing that can help you out of that is not your inner guidance or your, a higher power, or, some kind of thought process or some kind of theory behind that. Is the action. It's something that needs to be addressed by stopping to do it. I mean, we have to stop doing it. Okay, stop feeding ourselves with negative emotions, which includes people, and sometimes also places, yeah, that keep, dishing out negative emotions. Now let's move on to the physical. What about the physical? Sorry. Now let's move on to the mental, to the cognitive. Negative thoughts. That's also food. And you brought this up earlier. Yeah, that there's a lot of negative thoughts. Even if it's just a racing thoughts. Racing thoughts can create negative emotions in us. Have you ever asked yourself why? How that actually happens?
Not so much, just so grateful that I got the instruction on recognizing it and letting it go.
Racing thoughts are, influencing our emotions in such way that they make us feel we're not in control, we're powerless. Yeah, they're also called intrusive thoughts. And intrusive thoughts always feel like we're not in control of what we're thinking. Truth is we aren't, because until you actually do the work to find out what your thoughts are and which are not your thoughts, and what's like this automatic thinking that comes in through, the collective field, all right, you cannot be sure if those are your own thoughts. However, not to create more anxiety here, but the reason why food thought, food for thought, can be positive, yeah, and can be negative as well, is the question that we need to raise. Which thoughts are positive for me? Which are actual food and which are actually poison? Now, coming back to our bigger topic here, yeah, what it means to be spiritual and what's spiritual maturity. We need to ask ourselves, what is food for our soul, for our spiritual being? What nourishes your soul? What nourishes the spirit being in you? Do you know? So this is where I would leave it off here for this Wednesday's energy talk, and I want to do a part 2 of this next Wednesday. Yes, a wonderful question. What nourishes your soul? What is food for your soul? And when we can discuss and share and exchange that, yeah, and come to our own realization of what it is that can create this deeper, true belonging with our own soul, and how we can get there, yeah, by sometimes refraining from poison for our soul, yeah. Sometimes we have to refrain from things, and sometimes we have to eat more of something to strengthen ourselves. Okay, then we know that we are on our path to spiritual maturity. So this is the end of part 1. Yeah, spiritual maturity, food for our soul. And next Wednesday, we're going to continue this energy talk with hopefully some of your own contemplations, your own insights. I would love for you to maybe share here in the comments what you deem as food for your soul, what nourishes your soul, yeah, how to discern this, what to do more of, maybe what to do less of. Yeah, and let's have this kind of discussion about spirituality and not about beliefs and mindsets and, whatever else is out there. Let's talk about what puts us into this deeper connection with who we truly are. See you next week. Thank you for watching. Stay conscious.